Newcastle target Guehi. Crystal Palace are prepared to sell skipper Marc Guehi this summer. Now inside the final 12 months of Guehi's current deal, Palace recognize this window as the last where they can secure value for money. The England international is interesting Liverpool and Newcastle United. And the Mirror says Palace are prepared to sell at a starting price of £50 million. For his part, Guehi is ready to leave and has welcomed the interest of Liverpool. Liverpool learn fresh Newcastle United transfer fear as bid rejected. Latest Liverpool transfer news and gossip with updates on Newcastle United striker Alexander Isak and Crystal Palace defender Marc Guehi. Alexander Isak of Newcastle United. There is now less than a month to go until the summer transfer window closes, with Liverpool still being linked with several potential new signings. The Reds have made 7 new additions to their squad so far, and there is every possibility that more will follow. Arne Slot and company are currently preparing to face Athletic Club in their preseason doubleheader at Anfield on Monday. After that, attention will turn to the Community Shield against Crystal Palace next week before the Premier League opener against Bournemouth. Liverpool have until September 1st to complete their transfer business for the summer, with the potential for more signings to be completed and departures to get over the line. Here, the Echo takes a look at some of the latest Liverpool transfer news and gossip that has emerged on Sunday. Alexander Isak fear. The Mirror have reported that there is fear from Newcastle United about a potential move from Liverpool for Alexander Isak. The report claims that the Magpies are mindful that the Reds could return for a second bid for Isak after seeing their initial £110 million offer rejected. It has been reported that Newcastle believe Liverpool may be playing a waiting game, similar to when they signed Virgil van Dijk in January 2018 after first expressing an interest the previous summer. Marc Guehi update. Liverpool have reportedly had a bid rejected by Crystal Palace for defender Marc Guehi. According to the Mirror, the Reds made an offer worth £40 million in an effort to sign Guehi, whose contract at Selhurst Park is set to expire next summer. However, Palace are said to have turned down the bid from Liverpool, having set an asking price worth £50 million for Guehi this summer. Newcastle are also mentioned in the report as still having an interest in Guehi, but are seemingly not willing to meet Palace's price tag. Newcastle have reportedly promised Alexander Isak he can leave the club next summer. Newcastle have reportedly promised Alexander Isak he can leave the club next summer after offering him a new contract to remain at St. James's Park for one more season. The 25-year-old is said to be pushing for a move away from the Northeast, with Liverpool seeing a £110 million bid for the Sweden international rejected. Isak joined Newcastle from Real Sociedad in the summer of 2022 and has since racked up 54 goals in 86 Premier League outings. He helped the Magpies defeat Liverpool in the Carabao Cup final in March, with his side going on to secure a 5th-place Premier League finish as they booked their place in this season's Champions League. But the striker has since told his current employers that he wants to explore a transfer away from the club and was left out of Newcastle's squad for their tour of the Far East, with the Magpies putting his absence down to a minor thigh injury. According to transfer expert Ben Jacobs, Newcastle Chiefs feel Isak will either leave the club this summer or sign a new contract as they view it as untenable that he will stay on his current terms. Newcastle have already tried to convince Isak to sign a new contract and have promised him he can leave next summer. Meanwhile, Liverpool do not plan to submit a second bid for Isak at present unless Newcastle offer encouragement. But if the Magpies open the door for a deal to take place, the Reds will be there to pounce. Alexander Isak has netted 54 goals in 86 Premier League outings for Newcastle. Isak's future is said to hinge on whether Newcastle can find a replacement for the blockbuster star and how hard he pushes for a move away from the Northeast. Newcastle are currently pursuing the signature of RB Leipzig striker Benjamin Sesko, who has bagged 27 Bundesliga goals during 2 seasons in Germany. But Eddie Howe's side reportedly saw an offer of £65.5 million plus £4 million in add-ons turned down on Saturday, as Leipzig were unhappy with the overall package. And Newcastle also faced competition from Manchester United for Sesko's signature, with the Slovenia international said to be impressed by the Red Devils after being made aware of Ruben Amorim's long-term plans. Isak has landed back in England after training on his own at the headquarters of his former club, Real Sociedad. According to Sky Sports, the player himself refused to join the Newcastle squad on tour in the Far East and opted to head to Spain to train with his own staff instead. The Magpies are said to value Isak at £150 million, but don't want to sell him, with the prolific goalscorer still having another 3 years remaining on his current contract. Newcastle reject Liverpool's £120 million formal bid for Alexander Isak. Newcastle United have reportedly rejected a formal offer from Liverpool for star striker Alexander Isak, with the proposed package valued at £120 million, including add-ons. The Swedish forward, who is believed to be open to a move this summer, has attracted strong interest from the Reds following an earlier informal approach. The Premier League champions are keen on landing the Swedish centre-forward, despite splashing £69 million on Hugo Ekitike, who they beat Newcastle to the sign in July. The Reds have spent heavily already this summer, snapping up Florian Wirtz on a deal worth up to £116 million, while Jeremy Frimpong and Milos Kerkez arrived from Bayer Leverkusen and Bournemouth respectively for a combined £75 million. Soft Football understands that Isak, who still has 3 years remaining on his contract, has made his intentions clear to Newcastle United, expressing his desire to leave the club this summer. In a telling move, the Swedish striker has opted to train at the facilities of his former club, Real Sociedad, while Eddie Howe's squad presses on with their pre-season tour in South Korea. Now, according to transfer expert Fabrizio Romano via his X handle, Newcastle United have rejected Liverpool's opening bid for Isak, which was valued at £120 million, including add-ons. The Magpies are unwilling to enter negotiations unless they secure a suitable replacement for the Swedish striker, a scenario that remains uncertain at this stage. The tweet reads, Liverpool opening bid for Alexander Isak was worth £120 million package plus add-ons. Newcastle rejected as they won't open doors, at least until finding a replacement, and it's not guaranteed at this stage. Isak insists with Newcastle on his clear desire to join Liverpool. Newcastle have attempted to persuade Isak to stay, offering him an improved contract that included a release clause for the next summer. Senior teammates also reportedly encouraged the striker to remain at St. James's Park, but Isak and his representatives have consistently reiterated his desire to leave. Despite their public stance, Newcastle are understood to be preparing for a possible exit and have started identifying potential replacements should the situation escalate further. Liverpool submit bid and agree £15 million salary for Alexander Isak. Liverpool are believed to have submitted their first official bid for Alexander Isak, while there has also been news on the rumors of the striker agreeing personal terms. The biggest transfer of the summer is still on the cards for the Reds, with Isak making it clear that he wants to seal a move away from St. James Park. Liverpool will likely have to break their transfer record for the second time in the same summer in order to sign him, having already brought in Florian Wirtz from Bayer Leverkusen for a mammoth £116 million fee. Sky Germany journalist has claimed that talks over the transfer are progressing well, with Isak's representatives very positive about the saga reaching its conclusion sooner rather than later. An agreement is believed to be in place for the Sweden international, but it looks as though Liverpool will bide their time and try to be as respectful as possible to the Magpies, perhaps waiting for them to sign a new striker first. Liverpool willing to give Isak £15 million wages as bid submitted. David Ornstein revealed on Friday lunchtime that Liverpool have submitted a formal offer to Newcastle for Isak, which has been rejected. And according to a fresh claim from the boot room, Liverpool are prepared to pay Isak over £300,000 a week, which is exactly what the striker is demanding, earning him around £15 million per year. It is added that discussions have taken place via intermediaries, with these wages putting him just behind the likes of Mohamed Salah and Virgil van Dijk, both of whom signed extensions earlier this year. Liverpool fans are right not to get too carried away about Isak moving to the club, but at this point it would be a surprise if he wasn't a Reds player come the end of the current transfer window. It is clear that he wants to leave Newcastle, with Ornstein revealing he has turned down a new contract with a release clause included, and the Premier League champions see him as their number one option to add to their attack. Assuming Isak does become a Liverpool player, and if they manage to sign a center back as well, Crystal Palace and England ace Marc Guehi would be ideal. This could arguably end up being the most exciting transfer window in the club's history. To sign both Wirtz and Isak is a summer that Reds supporters could only have dreamed of earlier in the year, and the likes of Jeremy Frimpong, Milos Kerkez, and Hugo Ekitike are all exciting additions too. Oliver Glasner shares Crystal Palace transfer promise amid Liverpool interest in Marc Guehi. Liverpool is in need of a new defender following the departure of Jarell Quansah earlier this month, but Oliver Glasner has made it clear he does not want to lose any of his players amid the Reds' interest in Marc Guehi. Crystal Palace captain Marc Guehi is wanted by Liverpool. Crystal Palace manager Oliver Glasner said he hopes he does not lose any players this summer in what could be a blow to Liverpool's chances of landing Marc Guehi. Although Palace has not sold any players this summer, the club has only brought in 2 players, with left-back Borna Sosa arriving for a nominal fee from Ajax, and goalkeeper Walter Benitez joining on a free transfer from PSV Eindhoven. After guiding Palace to the first major trophy in the club's history last season, Glasner made it clear that he is not happy with how the window has gone so far. Even though all the players are still here, we haven't made the most of the transfer window so far, Glasner said. I was promised that we would be more active and bring in the new players earlier this year. As of now, I have 17 outfield players. I hope we don't lose any more. If that happens and we get 4 new ones on deadline day like last year, another false start is possible. Palace? Captain Guehi has been linked with a move to Liverpool throughout the summer as the Reds look to sign a replacement for Jarell Quansah, who left Anfield to join Bayer Leverkusen at the beginning of July. Quansah's move to Leverkusen left the Reds with just 3 senior center-backs in Virgil van Dijk, Ibrahima Konate, and Joe Gomez. Liverpool's need for a new center-back was underlined over the weekend as Gomez flew back from the Reds' preseason tour in Asia due to an Achilles injury. Gomez has a reputation for being injury-prone, and his 2024-25 campaign was ended at the beginning of February by a hamstring injury he sustained in an FA Cup game against Plymouth. Addressing Gomez's latest setback a few days ago, Liverpool head coach Arne Slot said, "He was of course with us for the first part of the week, but he had some Achilles problems. Joe Gomez returned to the UK due to an Achilles problem. We thought it was better to assess it back in England and for him to work on him to come back to the team, probably in more ideal circumstance for him than be part of the group that every time goes out. So we decided to let him go back to England, but we hope and expect to have him back soon." Irrespective of when Gomez returns, it's clear that Slot cannot hang his hat on Gomez due to his fitness record, and Liverpool obviously cannot afford to go into the new season with Van Dijk and Konate as its only other center-backs. Guehi has long been linked with a move to Liverpool, and he could be available for a cut-price fee as he has less than 12 months remaining on his current Palace contract. So, Guehi has no intention of signing a new deal at Palace, and if he does not leave this summer, he will be able to quit the Selhurst Park club for nothing in 2026. Breaking: Alejandro Garnacho, keen on joining Chelsea this summer as priority. Chelsea are considering to bid for Garnacho later this month, seen as opportunity as out of United project. And the player's keen on the move. Chelsea was his priority in January, while he still wants the Blues now. Despite approaches from Bundesliga, Saudi, and also Serie A, Garnacho wants to stay in Premier League. Up to Chelsea decision now, with deal depending on financial valuation made by Man United for Garnacho. Chelsea sent message by Manchester United over Alejandro Garnacho transfer. Chelsea remain in the running to sign Alejandro Garnacho from Manchester United. Manchester United have ruled out the possibility of a swap deal with Chelsea involving Alejandro Garnacho and Nicholas Jackson, according to reports. United are in the market to sign a new striker before the end of transfer window and have now made RB Leipzig's Benjamin Sesko their top target. Nicholas Jackson, who has scored 30 goals in 81 appearances for Chelsea since his £32 million move from Villarreal 2 years ago, has also been condemned by United. Chelsea, meanwhile, have retained their interest in signing Garnacho after making an approach in the January transfer window. A potential swap deal involving Jackson and Garnacho has been raised this summer, however. The Telegraph report that United insiders are discounting a move for the Chelsea striker. Chelsea are said to be demanding at least £80 million for Jackson, a valuation which you believe is excessive. Manchester United consider Chelsea's valuation of Nicholson as excessive. Garnacho, meanwhile, wants to leave United, but keen to remain in the Premier League and join a Champions League club. The Argentina international, who fell out with Ruben Amorim at the end of last season, has been left out of United's preseason tour of the United States. But despite his omission from the first-team squad this summer, Amorim claims there could be a way back for Garnacho at United if he is not sold. "We are just allowing these players time to think and to decide," Amorim said last week. "If they reach a point where they have to join the team, they will join the team because they are our players. I know for a fact Omar, Barada, and Jason Wilcox and the club have a number for these players. If they don't reach that, they will be Manchester United players. No doubts about that. I understand the club are maybe waiting for the last minute, but they can have a surprise, and I am ready. I am ready to receive the players. They have more competition. If they want to play in the World Cup, they need to play. So I'm really happy with that because I will have more options. If they have to fight each other to play for me, that is perfect.